Alright, so I decided to look into this a little bit and see what's going on with why I lost my engine water yesterday. And really didn't find anything yet. Everything seems to be clear. That hole right there is where the pump supplies pressure. It's just got this screen, which is a hard plastic screen with probably maybe 1/8 inch holes. Totally clear, nothing in there. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking in the pump. As far as I can tell, everything looks pretty good back there. I don't see any scraping or scratching. So, the whole time the pump was putting out pressure. So it's like, okay, if I got pressure to that port, which you can see down in there, screen's clear, I should have engine water. So anyway, the tube that I extended comes out of the engine right here. I haven't looked anything up on this, but I just had it run up to this port. I got from RSR, but it's a metal version of the plastic one that came on the boat, which I like it better. So grabbed this tube and blew backwards. I could blow water back through just with my mouth. So I'm like, okay, well, that was pretty easy. If the pump's putting out pressure, why isn't it going that direction? So hooked up the water hose, just crack it. There's plenty of water coming out. I mean, it's clear that way. So this thing's in a Y there, and you can see water's kind of bubbling up over there. So it's kind of trying to go that way. I just don't have it on very much. Just cracked. So the path of least resistance is apparently that way towards the transom or the pump. So I'm like, well, is that supposed to be a check valve? But even so, the pump's just going to create pressure, and if there's a check valve in there, so I guess I can just pull it out and check it out. But it just seems like a Y. It's capped off here where you hook the hose up, pump creates pressure, pumps it up through. Got a little fitting there. This is something I haven't messed with. It's definitely got an arrow on it, So I don't know. If I turn the hose up, I get water out that engine port. That water line comes over to the bottom of that dude right there, this housing, and then it comes out this top housing. So I'm like, it seems like just blowing through it with my mouth, it's a real clear path. It almost looks like that's just a water cooled oil cooler. Obviously the oil filter's sitting there, so I think that's all it's doing is cooling the oil. I didn't run it very long after I lost water. It was on that last run. I wasn't watching it the whole run, but I'm pretty sure I checked it before I took off after I dropped off my wife. So I'm like, well, so I got good water there. If I open it up more than the crack, that's what I get. Seems pretty free flowing to me. So I don't know. It's a little baffling. I mean, like I said, the pump is producing pressure. And if I take off, to hit the gas at all, it should produce pressure and get water out of there at an idle, from what I recall. I was just sitting there at the bank at an idle, and water's coming out that hose or outside the boat. So I don't know. The hose test, everything's clear. So I'm like, well, I can put it back together, and I guess I'm just gonna have to put it back in the river and run the pump and see what the heck, you know. Certainly isn't any obstruction there. So, I don't know, kind of disconcerting. You know, the engine water, let's see, where are we going here? The engine water comes out of the engine here, you know, and that'll warm up as the engine warms up. So that's the engine water going through the block. So it comes out here. Yeah, it just goes down below and then out the hole. So, you know, apparently that's where it supplies it. I don't see any other place that gets supplied with water. So, you know, if it has a thermostat, you know, maybe when it warms up, the engine moves the water through it, you know, and not through this. I don't know, I'll have to look this up. If anybody's got any information on this, let me know. But I'll keep playing with it. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled the pump off. I was just kind of curious anyway. After the first run, just wanted to see what was going on in there. Just because, you know, it's a jet ski modified and aftermarket intake and all that stuff. So anyway, I couldn't see any scraping inside the pump. So it seems like everything's going well. I did notice, you know, I don't know, looks like little flakes on there. I don't know, maybe some shavings on this. Yeah, it's hard to say. There's definitely some metal grit there. So that looks like shavings from the shaft. You know, you can even see some in the splines there. So, I don't know. This is a shortened shaft, and I don't know if they respline them or if they just use the factory splines. If it's factory splines and everything's straight, it shouldn't be a problem. You know, looking up in there, everything looks in line. You know, those bearings aren't totally rigid. You know, they've got a little bit of movement, but I don't know. It seems fairly normal. I'm a little worried about these shavings because that wasn't a lot of run time. You know, I'm hoping these splines aren't wearing on the inner splines of the bearing. Yeah, that's almost kind of packed with. I don't know if I can get the light just right for that, but some of these have a good layer of metal shavings in the bottom of them. So I don't know what to do about it, but this is a custom shortened shaft. You know, when I was at RSR, they popped this axle in for me, and you know, I haven't done anything to it other than just install it back in the boat. So I don't think there's any movement there to speak of. I don't know, might be a little scrape mark right there. I just have no experience messing with jet pumps, you know, and you got a stick stuck right there. So, you know, and there was a pile of leaves. That pile right there was stuck in the intake. You know, I would think it could handle those pretty good. They're just leaves. But it was just kind of like in one spot on the intake on the backside. So, I don't know. You know, this is the passage here where the pump water comes through to feed the engine and all that. There was no blockage. I mean, a little bit of sealant on the inside of the lip there, but kind of normal to be expected. Same here. You know, you can see the brass fitting. It goes into the engine. A little bit of a buildup here, but you know, that's kind of out of the way. I don't even see how that could create an issue. And the water's flowing, so I don't know. I guess I'll grease the shaft, clean it and grease it. You know, hopefully that won't, you know, continue to great metal shavings. And everything will be all right. And I don't know, all the passageways are good, the pump looks good. I'm just gonna put it back together. I guess I'll have to river test it again and do some research on, you know, what's supposed to happen with that engine water port. You know, does it always get water? Because if it does, it quit. And I still don't know why it quit, because everything looked clear. You know, with the hose on, I had water coming out the engine port and out of there. So I don't know.